You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Well, hello, good afternoon. This is Ted Cox broadcasting from downtown Conroe on Main Street in Lone Star Community Radio. You're listening to the first edition to what is hopefully going to be many editions of the show that we're calling the Good News Show. And it wasn't too long ago that I was approached with this opportunity, and probably like many of us who think they have a book in us or a movie, which we'll talk about in just a moment, or even a radio show, it's getting up and getting started that as always seems to be the roughest point. And so when the opportunity arose for this station, I took it on a leap of faith. That the premise of the show being bringing good news. It seems like no matter what we watch, whether it's on the cable news networks or the local networks or anything, we're just bombarded 24 hours a day with bad news, with things not only that are happening that are bad news, but there are political fights, and then there are weather, which we just endured and which Florida just endured, and earthquakes. There just seems to be just a bombarding of bad news. But many of us know, either through our churches or through our friends, that there are tremendous, extraordinary people doing good things in our community, and it just seems to get covered over. And so this show was born out of a desire to have those kind of folks on the radio to talk about all of the good things that they're doing in order for us, even if it's just a couple of hours a week, to be reminded that all is not lost, that all is not just bad news 24 hours a day, but rather we do have good neighbors. And so for it is not just a reminder, but also hopefully what we're going to do is bring you ways that you can get involved in it and not be necessarily part of the problem or part of the fighting or part of the arguing, but part of the solution to help one another and to brighten each other's day. And so I thought it would be helpful in just these first few minutes to introduce you to the show and introduce you to myself, and then we'll get right to a guest. We've got an exciting group of folks in the studio with us that have produced a movie that I think is couldn't be a more perfect set of guests and a perfect movie to launch the show with. But just to let you know a little bit about me, I actually live in the Woodlands. I spent a number of years out in the work world. I began my career with a little computer company based in Austin. It was called PCs Limited at the time. It's since become Dell Computer. Being there in the late 80s was probably one of the most exciting times that I've ever had professionally. But I left that and had my own company a couple of times and realized that just the building up and the acquiring of stuff, when you ultimately get that stuff, is really not all that it's meant to be. It's not all that we're told it's going to be. We're told that we can seek fulfillment out of getting things and trophies and houses and cars and accumulating bank accounts. But for many of us who may have acquired that and have lost it, realize that that is not what life is all about. Having grown up in a small town in South Carolina, coming to Conroe to do a radio show, it sort of reconnects me with the community in that everyone is helping one another and knows one another. But in walking down I guess it's been about 8 years ago now, down Concourse C in the Houston Intercontinental Airport, from the top of the station, from the top of the concourse to the bottom, I had this strange feeling that God was wanting me to go out of the work world and into more full-time ministry. And so my wife, who knows this story pretty well, I called her and said, I think I'm being called into ministry. And of course, she, always being a couple of steps ahead of me, said, okay, now what? So I talked with the pastor of the church that I was attending at the time, and he gave me some of the best advice I think I ever got, which was, if this truly is something from God and not of you, it will remain and get louder. That if it's from you, it'll flare up and it'll kind of go away. And sure enough, it did. And so I applied and got into Dallas Seminary, graduated from Dallas. And over the last 7 years, I've been an English pastor for 2 Asian churches. One was a predominantly Taiwan church, and the other based in the Woodlands, which was a predominantly Chinese church. And it's really interesting to see the dynamics of 2 different generations. The first generation who came from Taiwan or from China, who are working and have a tremendous work ethic and want to advance themselves and better themselves. And then the second generation who is struggling with, am I part of America or am I part of China or Taiwan? And it's really interesting to watch that struggle. Left that opportunity just a couple of months ago, and this presented itself. And so I'm so excited to be able to bring to you every Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3 live. And then, of course, in all the channels, whether they're application or the app for the show or YouTube or any of the other methods of getting out, we'll be podcasting this as well. I've been married for 29 years. I say that I've had 29 wonderful years. My wife has probably had 17 or 18 wonderful years. We have a son who is 16, and so we are homeschooling. And so this show again is all about my passion and my desire to look into the community and look into our neighbors and say, okay, this can't be all bad, and what is good, and how can we go tell people about it? And so that's the premise of the show, and that's what we'll attempt to do, again, every Thursday afternoon on this same channel from 1 to 3. So we'll go into just a short break now, and then as we come out of the break, I want to introduce you to 3 wonderful people and their movie, which is called We Are Stronger. So we'll see you after the break.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Well, hello and welcome back. We're at the Good News Show here, broadcasting out of Conroe, Texas at Lone Star Community Radio. I want to introduce you now to my guests who are in studio. We have 3 wonderful folks that are going to be talking about the movie. We're going to talk about the process of the movie and distribution and writing and producing and all of those sorts of things. And so what I'd like to do is have each one of the folks come around. We'll start with Carla and then Robin and then Jake. Introduce yourself and kind of the role that you had in the movie, and maybe introduce the movie itself, and then we'll go to Robin and then to Jake.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here with you. Well, my name is Carla McDougall, and I serve as the executive producer for the movie We Are Stronger. And about 10 years ago, started a ministry called Reflective Life Ministries. And it's amazing what started one thing has ended up something totally different.
Yes.
Which many times God does that.
That's
and
God
so,
too.
yes, yeah. Started out as a really focusing on women, and I've written some books and women's retreats and things like that, and have gone, I guess you could say internationally as well as nationally. But actually, the movement over the last, I would say, 5 years, we have kind of moved into the production scene.
Okay.
And so Reflective Life Ministry serves as like an umbrella, and there's a variety of different ministries that have flowed out of that. And one of them is called Reflective Media Productions.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's where we are, just kind of in a nutshell
Okay.
of the back history. It has been such a fun ride, and we'll maybe tell you a little bit more about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
later. But I'll.
Okay. And now, are
pass-
you from Texas?
I am. I
Okay.
am. Abilene, Texas.
Okay.
and
All right. Good.
Married my high school sweetheart now 33 years, and we have 4 children and 3 married and 3 boys married, and then the daughter is still, out there
Okay.
looking. I think, yeah. But I must plug this because
Okay.
we are all Aggies. We bleed some maroon. So just saying,
Okay.
got to put that in there.
Okay. So I guess we'll suspend the movie discussion because I went to South Carolina.
Oh,
So I'm a Gamecock, and we come to Aggie Stadium in 2 or 3 weeks.
oh yeah.
Now, I will say,
I'm going to be at that game, actually.
okay, well,
So there you go.
I might too. Now that we look better, I wasn't going to go until we actually looked pretty reasonable. But we haven't done so well against
Yeah,
the
well,
Aggies. But,
we shall see.
Normally, I'm not a threat to anyone, but since we have Aggies, we'll talk SEC football for the balance of our 2 hours. So, well,
then-
great. Okay,
Go Tigers.
Oh,
as long as it's not Clemson, we're good.
LSU Tigers.
Okay.
The
We don't
real
play-
Tigers.
We don't play LSU, so if it was Clemson, then I was going to leave. So,
that's funny.
okay, Miss Robin.
Yeah, I'm Robin Murray, and I am the writer and director for the film We Are Stronger. And the way that I got involved with Carla's ministry was as her script writer for skits back in the day when it was really a retreat ministry. And that's how we got started together. And just the way I got started writing skits is another story, but that's how I got going with this.
Oh, interesting.
But I have to say sick 'em bears because all this Aggie stuff. So I will say that. And yes, I met my husband Kirk at Baylor University.
Okay.
Way back in the day. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Jake.
I've been working with Carla and Robin, I guess, for almost 8 years now. We started out with Reflective Life Ministries, and I was always doing the video stuff for them, and we pretty early on got the idea of what we could do to actually bring some of those skits to the TV, to the silver screen, and so we actually filmed our first movie, I guess you could call it. Gosh, what was that? That was years ago.
It was about 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you have two movies or more than
we
more
have,
than 2?
I guess technically, we have 2 full-length films and then 1 kind of short film, which was our first one. So
Gotcha.
And that one was with 1 camera.
Ooh.
We've moved.
Yeah, but Jake can work magic.
He is
I've seen his
amazing.
work.
He is amazing. Absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, we started with that, and then we just kept moving with the second film that we did was First Love, and that was around 2011, 2012, I think.
I think it
More or
came out
less.
in 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Time flies,
I
I
know
guess.
it does.
I don't know. So, yeah, we've been working together for a long time, and I'm just kind of all technical things, so website, graphic design,
Yeah, I was going to say,
videography.
you have a really wide range of skills that you do really well.
Mm-hmm.
Graphic
Thank you. Wow,
design
thank you.
and well, I know because I succeeded Jake at Faith Bible. So I know the result of a lot of his work. He did some really complicated programming on the website. So now, are you with the ministry full time?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So I want to make sure if you had other projects that were available that we told the folks how to get in touch with you at some point downstream. But
in that time, whenever I started, I had my own company, and I was kind of working contract at that time,
Okay.
and doing some other things. But with Stronger, it's been pretty all-consuming. So out of that, Reflective Media Productions was born. So
Perfect. Okay.
from there, that's kind of what we're all doing full-time now. So
Okay, perfect. Well, great. Then why don't we start with you, Carla? Tell us about the movie, which is titled "We Are Stronger." It just had its hometown release at Faith Bible Church this past Friday. Mm-hmm. The next showing will be in Huntsville. Is it tomorrow?
Today.
It's
Starts
today.
today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Today.
3:15.
So tell it. Wow, are you going to make it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us about the movie. Tell us about the origin of the movie, and then maybe Robin, as she continues, maybe you can talk about the writing process, but tell us about the movie, what it's about, where it was born,
Okay.
out of, and so forth.
I don't know if you feel good about us jumping from person to person, but
You can, please, yes,
but
absolutely.
it might work really well, so we get all the parts into it.
Absolutely.
And we
Yes.
work such as a team that
You'll finish each
I
other's
can't
sentences.
imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine us not doing that. So
Absolutely.
anyway,
Absolutely.
thank you for that freedom.
Yeah.
As we finished the movie First Love, it was in 2013. We were a little bit exhausted,
Yeah, pretty worn out at that point.
and I think we needed a little break from that. Well, about 6 months later, it wasn't that long, really. Jake and I are standing out. We had another meeting about some other stuff. And
Yeah,
then-
we had just filmed something, and we were out at the your driveway. and
That's
we-
right.
And I kind of brought up that I had sort of had a vision of just this scene and this premise, which, you know, as all these projects, they turn out a lot different than what you imagined them to be at the beginning. But that was kind of our first initial conversation, and so from there, we started going.
Yeah, he says to me, "So what do you think about a movie involving a soldier who's been injured? He comes back from Afghanistan and he deals with PTSD." And we show the effects on the marriage.
This is a pretty big right turn for what we've been doing, because, I mean,
Well, tell us a little bit about the First Love and kind of what the premise of that was. And can people see it now? Is it available on DVD or download, or how could people see
yeah,
it?
it is. Actually, both of our films are available on DVD from Reflective Life Ministries, I think .org is the web address. But yeah, so I guess we kind of have to start at the beginning with Behind the Veil, which was our first film. That was really taken from Carla's Bible study, and it was Carla had originally approached Robin to write some skits based around her Bible study, and so there were, I think, 10 skits more or less, and so y'all approached me to just film those skits originally, and so at that time it was just kind of the perfect nexus of technology and all that, that I felt like we could actually pull off something a little bit more, which, you know, ended up kind of being close to a full-length movie. So, but anyway, I mean, both of our films were kind of really centered around women's ministry, and so that's why I kind of interject that was definitely a pretty hard right turn from stuff we had done in the past. And so, yeah, just from some things that were rattling around in my head, and some documentaries I had recently seen, and just some conversations with Ulysses, and just kind of seeing what he was capable of. I was like, it's kind of an interesting idea. And then Carla and I talked about some of the spiritual aspect of the things that we wanted to include in the film, which, you know, of course, morphed and grew from there. But
And of course, Ulysses is the star of the movie.
yeah, Ulysses Larramendi is
Okay.
the main lead, along with Angela Sweet. So
Yeah. And Ulysses I've known for a little while. Ulysses also owns the restaurant Eden Cafe, which is on 1488 and 2978, or Egypt Road, I guess, technically.
now open Sundays.
Now, and serving a wide range of, anyway.
And excellent.
Excellent food.
The Cuban sandwich.
Oh gosh, that's so good.
the
Anything
best.
Marsala from there. Yes.
So, okay, so you had the skits that became the movie, and then First Love, and then this is, hey, how about a really heavy subject?
Yeah, right.
Well, it
Okay.
was really interesting. I'll go back a couple of summers
Sure.
back, because we did First Love really as a DVD release. It was never in the idea of
okay.
a theatrical release or anything like that. But as soon as one morning I woke up about 6 o'clock in the morning to a text that said, "Get on the television right now on Daystar Television. Your movie, First Love, is the movie of the week." And I'm like, what? So I get up, I go. I mean, I'm you know, I hadn't even had my coffee yet, and I'm trying to figure this out. And lo and behold, it was the movie of the week. And we were
Wow.
getting texts from all over the country, or not texts, but messages
Right.
and emails from all over the country.
That must be like hearing your
So-
song on the radio for the first time. It's like, what?
Yeah, well, when you didn't even know it was going to happen, you know? I
Exactly.
mean, so
Exactly.
anyway, yeah, so it was really awesome.
Okay, well, great. Well, we are going to go to break. And on the other side of the break, we'll continue to talk about the movie and how it came about and how the process. And so we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, President of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyperlocal audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
And we're back with the Good News Show, broadcasting out of Conroe, downtown Conroe, Texas. And as we just heard, it seems like summer is back, but we're dry. I don't know, in moving to Houston, I'm not sure why Houston doesn't understand that September is fall, but okay, we're back to summer. We're in studio with the producers and writers and filmers of We Are Stronger, the movie, which just opened in the hometown opening, although it opened a little bit before that, at Faith Bible, and they have an opening tonight or another showing tonight in Huntsville. So I have Carla and Robin and Jake with me. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about, although we got a little introduction about the subject matter of PTSD and the sort of change slightly into a more serious and heavy subject. And so we'll pick up on that now and start talking about what PTSD maybe is and how would you take that and the idea of coming back from Afghanistan, a soldier, and how do you write that? How do you construct a script and put that on film? So,
okay. Well, I can say that this was a subject that it really was something that was laid on Jake's heart and mind as just the idea of that opening scene.
Got it.
And Jake could probably speak more to this, but I believe his heart was to show the healing power of God in the face of trauma.
Okay.
So it wasn't specifically about this subject. We weren't necessarily going straight for, let's talk about PTSD and its effect on the military, but really a more broad and far. Did you want to say anything and add to that? Because that was really your heart.
Yeah, and to talk a little bit about, for those who don't know, although it's fairly a common now acronym, I think people know about it, but if you can describe kind of what PTSD is, and even you and I, Carla and I talked a little bit about how appropriate it is, because PTSD is not necessarily restricted to soldiers.
Oh,
Exactly.
That in fact it is
Definitely.
Traumatic events that happen to people, not the least of which may be losing your home in a hurricane. So this is a very
Exactly.
appropriate, although dealing with the military and soldiers specifically, PTSD is far-ranging than just the military. So if you want to spend a few minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that was the initial idea, like Robin had said, was really just the broad stroke of that is how do we heal from really anything? And PTSD just happened to be kind of the illustration that we're going to use for the healing that is in Christ. And so that was the initial concept and idea. And I mean, we really had no idea what we were getting into on the outset of that. And, you know, it was a whole education for myself and really the whole team. And like you said, I mean, you're exactly right. The military is really a fraction of those who suffer from PTS and PTSD, and that which is post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. And a large percentage are, of course, first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, which we've worked with in the filming of this project, which has been very eye-opening. And then, of course, just normal, everyday people through car accidents, through any kind of trauma, you can develop PTS or PTSD. And so that really was very eye-opening to us because, you know, somebody who's never encountered that in my life or my family or anything like that, we really had no idea the far-reaching. You instantly think of the military because that's kind of the context we're accustomed to.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, through that, once we started learning that, we started approaching different organizations who dealt with that, and that's really where Robin, took the ball and ran with it, and really researched and read and just met. We met with individuals, we met with organizations. So, do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
So then, what is you made the distinction between PTS and PTSD? What's the distinction between the two? Is there a way to distinguish?
One thing that we learned is that it is kind of controversial, actually, that whole term.
Okay.
Because it's...
both of the terms?
No, mostly
Okay.
the idea of it being a disorder. Gotcha. Because it's actually a natural reaction to an unnatural act is what you hear often. And this is not necessarily a disorder. This is what pretty much any mind would do, just because of the way we're created in order to deal with trauma.
Okay.
And the way it was explained to us is, God has created us with certain abilities to try to avoid danger in the future. Okay. And sometimes that means when something extremely traumatic happens, that it gets almost trapped deeply into your brain, where you no longer recognize it as a memory, and you can't process it that way for a while, because instead your body sort of skips that step, and then you have a physical reaction to a trigger that is reminding you of that event without having that control of saying, oh no, this is just a memory. And smells and things like that are some of the most triggering things. So if something happens, what's so, I think, disturbing to people who have PTSD, well, back to the idea of it being a disorder, I could get on and on about just the things we learned about really how the mind processes and the cognitive aspect, but there are many people who are just like, if you label us with a disorder, that's you're taking the legs out from under us to move on. And that happens if you feel, so there is some of that to consider.
Would you also, in that vein, if people don't like or reject that particular label, have you found in the people that you've maybe talked to or interacted with, or maybe have seen the movie and you've reacted to it, where they are perhaps unwilling to come forward to try to get treatment as a result of the stigma?
Exactly. Because you can lose your security clearance. At one time you could. There are things which it's very tricky, because clearly you want to stop and help the people that have this. These are the bravest people in our community, the people who go out there and lay their life on the line. They are the line between chaos and order in our civilization. And so we want them to be helped, and we want them to be able to do the thing that they feel like God called them to do and serve in this way. So if it means calling it a disorder in order to get the funding and the help or whatever, so there's just several sides to this. But I have heard that one really good way to explain it is that it's really post-traumatic stress injury. To think of it more like that. I mean, at one time there was very much a, well, anyway, that's probably the best term that I think many people can agree on, is that it's an injury that can be made better, that can be worked on, that, not only, I wouldn't say time necessarily heals it by itself, but time coupled with the work that needs to be done of digging it out. There's things that we learned about that are really quite fascinating that can be used to help, like EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming is what that stands for. It's really fascinating. And it's something that many counselors are becoming able to, they're getting where they can do that. They're becoming trained in that because it's sort of a cognitive thing. But the number one thing, though, that helps is for someone to make peace with God about where was God in this, and our film gets to that. We address that because it gets to a spiritual level. These issues. I mean, that's one thing that Jake was very brave to say. Let's just jump into this. A soldier, a person who puts their life on the lines and faces evil. Okay, God's bigger than that even. So let's go there. So this is what we did. And in doing that, we were treading into waters that, this little person personally had never been in. Okay.
Right.
So it was a matter of just being humbling and saying, hey, look, could y'all help? We're trying to tell a story here that God wants us to tell. So.
Okay, yeah, and just as a reminder, you're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. In here, I have the production crew, the writing crew, filming crew for We Are Stronger, the movie, which deals with PTSD, and certainly what we just were talking about. One of the things that I would hope that our listeners would want to hear and need to hear is that it shouldn't be stigmatized, that you should seek help. And while we would all acknowledge around the table that it is God who heals and Jesus himself who heals, that he has given to doctors the ability to, through therapies, through perhaps even medicines, to help with that. And so don't just sit around and wait, that there are potentially dire consequences to waiting and not getting treatment.
Exactly.
And we don't want anybody to go through that.
Right.
So, and certainly as we were talking about with the hurricane, talking about the soldier is running into bullets, and we're seeing police officers running into the danger while we are all escaping. And we saw so many stories of firemen waiting and other responders and regular people that were not first responders going into the water to rescue folks like that. And so both the people being rescued and potentially those first responders and regular folks like you and me probably could be going through this post-traumatic injury. So, okay, well, we will go to break, and on the other side of the break, we'll continue to talk about not only the film and the production of the film, but also some of the studies that are coming out of it. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Hey, Montgomery County, it's me, C.C. Holmes. And I would personally like to take this time to invite you, that's right, you, to join me every Saturday and Sunday from 3 until 7 p.m., where I will bring you the very best of smooth jazz, classic jazz, and indeed, yes, the soulful sounds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So come along and get jazzy with me. That's right, jazzy. Right here, of course, on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM, or worldwide at irlongstar.com.
Don't miss Lone Star Community Radio on TV and YouTube. Our talk show and music shows are featured on Our City TV, Suddenlink Channel 12, and have their own YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with posted shows and comment on them below the video.
Welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. And again, in the studio, I have Carla and Robin and Jake, the production and creative team, the writers and producers and filmers and editors and everything that had to do with the movie We Are Stronger, which deals with a very tough subject and a heavy subject for many of us in PTSD. So in just a moment, we'll talk about the movie itself. We'll talk about the opening that just happened and the opening that will about to happen in Huntsville. But coming out of the movie is something that's very important. While we were on the topic of God healing and the spiritual aspects and the other therapy aspects, it's very interesting, and I'll ask Carla about this. If you will start talking about the Stronger Alliance that's coming out of the movie, about all the people that you've now connected with and organizations and how people perhaps can seek help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We realized that this movie, it's not about just going to see a movie and walking away. And
Because there's a lot of organizations that just raise awareness. So
yeah,
we
so
didn't
it's not
wanna do
about
that.
raising awareness. It's what needs to happen afterwards.
Okay.
And as I started seeking out throughout the country different Christ-centered organizations that are on the front lines, I realized, I had a conversation with one of them out of Atlanta, Ken Kuhn with Armed Forces Mission.
Okay.
And he seemed discouraged. He seemed, frustrated, tired. And so I said, are you connected with these other organizations? And he said, no. And that just hit. They need to be connected with one another, because if you're in Atlanta trying to help someone in California, you can't
Right.
necessarily help that person like they need to be helped. But if you're connected with an organization through an alliance, you can direct them to someone who's right there that can help them.
And most of the
Okay.
organizations
So-
that we connected with have a limited reach. Very,
Yeah.
very few of them
Geographically.
Have
Right,
Very
yeah.
few of them have a coast to coast reach. So.
Okay.
So that's where the kind of the birth of that came from.
Okay.
And from their side, that they need one another, just like a pastor needs a pastor to talk to, you know?
Yes. It can be a very lonely
It can.
profession.
It can. And you can build each other up. That's biblical. You know, we
Of course.
need one another to build one another
Bear one
up.
another's burdens.
And so
Yeah.
that's really where this came from, the idea of that blending them together, but also allowing it to be a website that becomes kind of a hub of resources,
Okay.
phone numbers. And then it's not just about the veterans. It's about, okay, yes, it's a trauma recovery. So let's have a section with veteran military. Let's have a section for
Okay.
first responders. Let's have a section for burn survivors, because we've got burn survivors
okay.
within our movie. Sexual abuse, and you just go down the line.
Okay. And how would people reach it?
And they can go to strongeralliance.com.
Okay. So strongeralliance.com.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be for people offering therapy as well as people who perhaps are suffering with.
Right, with it themselves.
PTS.
Or know someone that
know someone.
needs help.
Okay.
And they can,
And these are all Christ-centered organizations that have
Yes.
worked a long time with trauma recovery, and a lot of these organizations actually help shape the film itself.
Okay.
And-
But if somebody's listening, even though these are potentially Christian organizations, someone who's seeking help doesn't necessarily need to be a Christian in order to receive.
not at all.
help.
I mean,
Okay.
Most of the military guys, one of the organizations we work with, Mighty Oaks, actually works with the military, and the military will send them active duty guys who are dealing with this stuff. And I mean, a large majority of them are not Christians, and that's totally okay. I mean, it's certainly not a criteria for any of them. So.
Well, I didn't want anybody who may be listening or listening on the podcast while we're broadcasting out of North Houston. The podcast will be listened all over. And if they reach out to strongeralliance.com and they find one of the organizations, I didn't want anybody to be apprehensive that this was
absolutely.
only for a subset of the people and get help and
No,
have
not
to
at
be.
all.
So thank you for that clarification.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
I'd
what-
love to share an example.
Please,
Because I
absolutely.
think that makes it relevant.
Please. Yes.
We had a showcase. We showcased the movie a couple of times in May. And there was a veteran and his wife that came to the movie because somebody invited them. And afterwards, she called me up. I didn't know who she was, but she called me up because we have a mutual friend. And
Okay.
she just shared her story.
Okay.
Said that she'd been married for years and years, and just the control and the anger that her husband had just escalated and
Okay.
escalated. So they went and watched the movie, and afterwards he just sat in the car, wouldn't start the car. And she said, "Are you okay?" Well, then he finally, just still staring straight ahead, said, "I had no idea what I've done to you over the past 25 years until I saw myself on on the big screen tonight."
Right.
And then he looked at her and he said, "Is there any way you can find it in yourself to forgive me?" The next day, he got a hold of, he went on the Stronger Alliance.
Right.
And he got a hold of one of the organizations and started seeking out help together. And then he actually even went to Mighty Oaks
Okay.
for a week out in California.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, what is Mighty Oaks?
Mighty
Is it a
Oaks
place that-
is a place that provides a usually 6-day retreat.
Okay. All right.
And they help you through the process of understanding. And Robin can probably speak even more on that than me. But
Okay.
our main actor Ulysses
Yeah.
actually went to Mighty Oaks for 6 days, and
They did that for us.
and they allowed us to come in, and
Okay.
he spent time with them, and the character of Vic changed because he spent that time with them.
Interesting. So this was prior to filming?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So my whole point is,
So did the Stronger Alliance come before the movie?
no,
No, it came out of it.
it came
Okay.
out of it
Okay.
after.
Got it.
Yeah,
'Cause
as
we-
it was
we-
being filmed.
We were connecting with so many different organizations,
Okay.
and that was on our heart. Is we didn't want to just make a film that just showed the problem. We wanted to provide solutions, and so out of these organizations, Carla had the idea. It's like, I mean, just what you were talking about, Ken Kuhn. It's like, we need to get these guys connected and working together,
Yeah.
because they're all doing great things all over the country, but they need the support of each other, and we need to be able to, somebody who is seeing the film in New York, if we have an organization in Houston and that's the only one we're connected with,
Right.
we can't help them. And that's what this alliance is all about, is providing resources where you are. And just to say, like Mighty Oaks, they have retreats all over the country. They're not just in California.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So just, you talked about the effect that it had on an individual who watched it, and out of that, asked for forgiveness and the healing that comes along with forgiveness. So your premiere, your next showing is tonight. So tell people, as they're listening now, perhaps in their cars going up and down 45 and other places, to turn around and head towards Huntsville, because there could be ways that they would be able to see it. So tell us a little bit about the film that's going to be happening tonight, and then as we go into the top of the next hour, we'll talk a little bit about the process and some of the music. So tell us a little bit about Huntsville, maybe where it is and what time it is and how people can get tickets and those kind of things.
Yeah. Yes, we're excited. It starts today at the Sinistar Theater.
Yeah, Sinistar.
Right?
Okay.
Sinistar Theater at 3:15, 6:15, and 9.
And tickets are at the door,
And
right?
tickets
You
are at the
can't- I don't
door.
think you can get them online.
Tickets are at the door. And there's an extra show on Saturday and Sunday
Okay.
at 12:15.
It'll be running.
And it runs for a full week.
Yeah.
So from the
And a week after. Okay.
So it's
starting tonight through all next week.
through the 20th.
Okay.
And if there's any listeners around the greater Montgomery County area that have never been up to that Sinistar, it is a cash-only establishment. They have an ATM on hand or on site, but it's a cash-only establishment, so they do not take card. First time I went up there as a student, I was very upset because I didn't have cash.
Good point.
But
Okay, well,
but
and
a good
just-
thing is that they have really cheap snacks.
Oh, they do. And their popcorn is extra good there.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay. Well, I've never been there, so tell if there's someone's driving, how would they be able to find the place?
It's a little tricky, too, at times.
It is.
You take the exit for... what's the main exit up there?
30.
I-30, yeah. And you best way to go would be take the exit for Highway 30, make the U-turn, and there's a large parking lot there on your right-hand side, and there'll be a turn-in between that parking lot and the Walmart. Take that right, and it's right there on your right-hand side. You wouldn't necessarily see it if you didn't know it was there. You would miss it completely. My best and suggestion would be to Google it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it looks like that their address is 3 Financial Plaza in Huntsville, Texas, and their phone number is 936-291-0248. And that again is in Huntsville. First showing tonight is 3:15, and then 6-9 Saturday, and then all of next week. So if you want to go and catch the show, go and take a look. And then with a very intentional, the creative team has had a very intentional, as you come out of there, as Jake and Carl have already said, it doesn't stop there. So if you're affected, if you look like that perhaps you weren't aware of the need that you have, or were somehow or another stigmatized or ashamed, do not wait. Go to strongeralliance.com, find a partner within that, and call for help, or communicate in some way to someone who can help. And certainly the strongeralliance.com is a good place to go.
There's a lot of resources on there too, with videos and books and all that kind of stuff. If you just want to get started and kind of get an idea of what's going on, there's some really good information that the Chris Adsit has several books about. So, there's a lot of resources there. So,
Perfect. Well, that's great. And again, that's the premise of the show, is not necessarily just to talk about it, but also to have folks like the team that you're listening to now have good, practical solutions to the problem, so that you can go and get the help that you really, truly need. As we head into the top of the hour break, on the backside of it, as we come out of that break, you're going to hear a song, We Are Stronger, which is the theme song to the movie. The artist is Shay Doman, excuse me. So as we have about a minute before the top of the break, so why don't, if you can explain
Yes.
a little bit about the music, what we're about to hear on the other side of 2 o'clock.
Okay. This is a fun one. This
Okay.
is fun. Many people in Huntsville know that know John Sherrill. And John Sherrill is actually the writer of the song.
Okay, good. Yes.
And then about 4 weeks before the movie was going to be completed and we were going to showcase it in May, it wasn't done yet. And so we were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And he said, I'm almost there. But I think we need a Texas country sound. And so I was like, do you know someone? He goes, nope. And so
wait a minute, John Sherrill doesn't know?
He did not.
I know John Sherrill.
I know.
He knows everybody.
Everyone. He knows everyone. And so, long story short, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and remembered a Texas country guy that I was led to go find at that moment, 3 in the morning, and send an email to. Didn't know him, but just had heard him. There's a great story to that. But anyway,
good.
Shay Doman is the man.
Okay.
And
well, excellent. Well, as we come out of the 2 o'clock break, the top of the hour break, you will hear that song in its entirety, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. You're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox.
The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Was a long road home. Don't feel like I belong here. With everything I know, I couldn't find myself. I couldn't see the light. I couldn't feel my heartbeat. The loneliness inside has stolen what was left. I covered up my scars with stripes and stars like I'm supposed to. But I know I'm not alone. I'm waking up to find that day by day and step by step, with every passing hour and every breath I breathe, I am reaching higher. Heart in heart and hand in hand, out of the ashes I will rise up and believe that I am reaching higher and getting stronger. I'm getting stronger.
Well, that was the title cut, We Are Stronger by Shay Doman. And we have a little more to the story. You're listening to the Good News Show on Conroe's on 104.5 and 106.1. You can also stream live on irlonestar.com. And again, we're here with Carla and Robin and Jake, who are the creative team, the writers and producers and filmers of the movie We Are Stronger. And if you are interested in that song, if you'd like to hear more of it or download it, you can go to strongermovie.com and look on the music link, or go directly to strongermovie.com/music. And you can hear both that and another song, Isaiah 54, which are, I guess, prominently displayed throughout, or probably heard throughout the movie. You can download those on Apple iTunes or Spotify or Amazon, or listen to them directly on the website. So I know that there's a little bit more to the story of the song and the production of the song and the singing of the song. So Carla, why don't you pick it back up with the story and kind of finish our thought about the music and as a part of the movie?
Absolutely. If you're listening to that song, you're just immediately drawn in.
That's beautiful.
And
beautiful song.
As I said, we were 3 weeks out, and the song's not done, and I'm losing sleep literally over it.
The 2 hours you normally have allocated.
Yes, yeah. I mean, just And so John goes, I'm almost there, and I love his heart. He is just amazing.
Well, and for those of you who may not be listening and may not know who John is also the pastor of Declaration Church, which is a church plant. I guess it's been going, has it been a year?
Maybe just at a year.
Just over a year. And has been doing praise and worship for who knows how long he's been doing it. So
years and years. Yeah.
He actually was a part of our First Love movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the writer of the song and singer at that point of First. It was called First Love.
So if you're listening, John, good job.
Yeah, awesome. But anyway, so I found Shay, as I had mentioned before.
Yeah.
Sent him an email and called. I waited till 8:00 that morning and gave him a phone call, left a message, and just prayed, Lord, just help him call me back. Well, at 11:00 he calls me back, and he goes, I'm very interested in this, and he's like a go-getter. Well, by 6:00 that evening, he already had us set and ready to record that song.
Wow.
We needed it really fast.
We needed it fast. Okay? So
good.
he the next morning, Robin comes over, and Shay, and then John comes over, and they'd never met. They didn't know who each other were. And as John opens up his guitar case, Shay goes, "That's my guitar."
What?
I mean, we've got the exact same guitar. And how many guitars are out there, right? They have so it was like this moment of kindredship among musicians, and
it's like a twin language, right?
It really was. I mean, it just bonded them immediately. Well, do you know that night, around probably 6:00 that night, I get a message from John. The song is finished.
Wow.
And it just took that. He knew. I respect his listening to just God's upon his heart to say it's got to be right. And it just took that moment, I believe, to just spur him forward. And it popped. I mean, there was nothing changed in that song. It was unbelievable. So if you are out there, you need to download this song because it will blow you away.
So what was the full turnaround time on that? So you contacted Shay to it being in the film, or ready to be put into
it was film. About 3 weeks. Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 weeks at the most.
Well, so from when you contacted Shay?
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks, because then what happened was the only time he could get the recording done
that's right. Okay.
was on May 9th, and we needed it by May 13th to show at our premiere in Houston. So Robert and I go to the studio. They recorded on the 9th.
Which was Wednesday.
Which was a Wednesday. They get it to us Wednesday night, late.
Yeah.
He sends it up to Canada, I guess, right? Where it had to be.
I sent it to Arizona, and then they sent it to Canada.
And he gets it back by Friday. Do y'all even understand the time frame of that moment? I mean, it could only have been by the hands of God. It was just, so I'm just saying and that's just one story behind the scenes that are amazing.
And those are the fun things.
They're so fun.
Those are the fun things to hear and to think about, because so many of us have no clue what it takes to put together a movie or music and so forth. And so if people are interested, you can go to strongermovie.com, strongermovie.com. The music is on there under resources, or you can go straight to strongermovie.com/music. So that is the title song is We Are Stronger. So yeah, again, we are here. This is the Good News Show with Ted Cox. We've got the production team, the creative team for the movie We Are Stronger, which deals with a pretty heavy subject of PTSD or PTS injury, as I think is a better one. So again, many of us as just sort of lay people probably sit around and dream that we all have a movie in us, or all have a book in us, or a song in us, or whatever it happens to be, but none of us ever sit down and actually begin the process. So if we could spend a few minutes to talk about the process. How do you go from an idea in a driveway one evening to, I think God wants us to go in this direction, to coalesce into a team that actually, because, as again, most of us are amateurs at this, never done this before, the writing process seems to be such an arduous task. So how do you even go about
Robin
doing
makes it
that?
look pretty easy. So.
Well, professionals do.
So she is so gifted.
She
It's
just knocks it out.
amazing.
I don't know about any of that. But,
Stop.
yeah, but, well, I will say that, when Jake brought this up, first of all, I have to say that my guilty pleasure is like the Hallmark Channel, okay? I don't really watch anything that's heavy. And so when he brought this up, I mean, not only has my protected little life, I just heard this term today. Linda Case got to say this. That was like I was raised in a pillowcase. Okay,
In a my pillowcase.
In a my pillowcase. But so I really have been sort of sheltered, taken care of in so many ways my whole life. Okay, so I used to teach history, and when I was getting my graduate work, my little thing that I did to pay for that was oral history. So that was probably the one thing that that could have in any way gotten me ready to do this, because all I did is just read and talk to people and get their stories and put them together. And
well, from a writing background, you've been doing skits and plays and stuff for a while.
And I have to say my training for that was probably all afternoon latchkey kids sitcom after sitcom. I mean, seriously, I
love
so there was, it was God. Okay. It was a matter of learning. When I first started working with Carla, it was just silly stuff. It was little funny things, little parodies of commercials, and all. And then as we went on together doing skits for the retreats, we would try to make a poignant point. And it's like one night I couldn't come up with a skit, and I just really prayed and like, God, how do I bring this particular skit home? And it's like he gave me this idea, and I was kind of embarrassed to put it in the skit because I thought, oh, that's just kind of cheesy. That's like, then people will know I think that way. No, God, no, let's stay funny. Do we need to go to a break?
No,
okay.
We're good.
So, but it was like God said, who in the world do you think you are? Yeah, I mean, obviously this is for his glory. So I put it in there, and that skit was this skit that every, women were saying, oh my gosh, after that skit, I just reconciled with my sister after 20 years. Oh my gosh, after that skit,
life-changing.
God used that skit. It really wasn't, I didn't feel like it was my idea. And so that's what I learned to do is just, at the beginning of the film, we have 8 words that come up on the screen before anything else. I have a story for you to tell. Because as I prayed at the beginning of this very heavy subject, Lord, why am I doing this? It was like, I have a story for you to tell.
Okay.
And as I prayed, I wrote, and I prayed, I listened, I wrote, I moved out of the way. I watched God tell his story through the lives of the people in it. That's a whole other story, is how the people and the actors that were in it, they all had stories. Their stories, I really was more of, I used to say a florist. I took their stories and made a bouquet, however you want to say it, stained glass, broken glass, moved into a picture. just by the hand of God, just listening more than anything.
Okay.
So I can't say that
None of us are actually qualified to do what
no.
we do.
No. We are a motley crew
Yeah,
that God is really,
Well, I mean, take a look at the disciples, right?
Yeah,
He would pick those
exactly.
guys.
Exactly.
All right, well, you're listening to the Good News Show. We're going to go for a quick break, and we'll come back in just a couple of minutes.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio. Broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on irlonestar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Good News program with Ted Cox. And in studio today, I have Carla and Robin and Jake. They are the production team, the creative team, filmers, writers, post-editing, graphics, everything that has to do with the movie that has just recently come out and will be showing tonight in Huntsville at the Cinestar Theater beginning at 3. There's a 3:15 showing, a 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then it'll be here for the next week if you would like to see it. For all the details and all the information, you can go to strongermovie.com. And again, if we were talking a little bit earlier about if you have been affected by, or if you a family member or a friend or yourself have been affected by it and need help with regard to PTSD, you can go to strongeralliance.com. So just before the break, we were talking about just how does somebody go from idea to the first few sentences, to the first few paragraphs, to a full-blown movie, and how does that happen? So few of us get the chance, other than the extras on the DVD of Marvel movies, to understand exactly what goes on with filming and all of those things. So I'll pick it back up with Robin, who is the primary writer, the screenwriter for the movie. Tell her to talk a little bit about that process, kind of finish those thoughts. And then we have a couple of stories to tell that is pertinent to the process of telling the story. So,
yeah, I would say that that if when God wants to tell a story, He's going to do it in interesting ways, usually different ways at different times. And so I would say the way that we came about this was not the traditional way. Okay.
Okay.
And I would also say that this particular film came out of a relationship that was formed over 2 other film projects as well. So it didn't just sort of come out of nowhere. You know, it wasn't like, oh, here's an idea. It was like Jake had an idea. He pulled the team together and said, here's a beginning scene. Okay, Robin, you're our writer. See what you can do with that, you know. And I'm like, wow, well, I need to start with research. Okay. So that helped a lot for this particular subject, because that was easier almost, is that here's the subject matter. And so my first question was, well, how are people with PTSD getting help in the Christian community? Who's doing that? So the first step was finding, who has already written manuals and books and things like that. So it began with that, in our case, with research, just listening, gathering stories. Okay. And yeah,
because this the PTSD, I, is such a difficult subject in many ways to just understand what it is, how it comes about, and then the treatments, symptoms, and then treatments thereof. So there is quite a bit of research that went into it.
And it could be that one reason that God had us doing it is because we started at ground zero. We didn't know anything.
Right.
So it was a gathering of information with really sort of no bias. We were just trying to find what was true, because people are very passionate about different sides and ideas on this particular subject. So I will say that it could also be that God had us doing this because there needed to be a link between civilians that didn't get it at all,
good point.
and military.
All of us.
Yes, which was all of us, because again, there was a lot of questioning of, Lord, why are we doing this? And I mean, we could go on about how different organizations, such as Mighty Oaks, kind of saw what we were trying to do as we were flailing around. Literally, when we first met them, which was a total God thing that we met them.
Now, was that part of your research that you met
yes,
them? Okay.
yeah, well, yes, but again, we'd already written the script, and we'd already gotten to a certain point in the script, just far enough to where when we first met them, I was like, can I just tell you what we've got here, the main crux, the main moment of change, and you tell us if we're getting there?
Right.
And we were able to almost do an elevator pitch at them, and I remember, that was kind of what it took for, it was Jeff, really, Presnell, who was able to say, I think you kind of get it, and then he was able to say to them, I think they're getting it,
right?
And then they were able to say, well, then let's help you do it well, because and that's the meeting where they said, who's your main actor and is he military? He's not. Okay, well then we would like for him to come for a week and spend time and learn.
Yeah.
So once people could see, once guys that the people who were military, the trauma survivors, once they saw what we were trying to do, they started helping, because they could see that we could be that bridge and bring support.
And they really shaped the project too, because we kind of had some different ideas about who our audience was and stuff, and that's what they told us, and that was really helpful to us, is that they were saying your audience really needs to be civilians in the church, because they don't understand what's going on. It's funny, I never heard you said that before, like why we're the ones to do this, and that's a really interesting point, and that's kind of what I guess they saw too, is that there's this gap between those who have it, the military, first responders, and all that kind of stuff, and they can't communicate that to the rest of us.
I have to say that I think it's interesting as we're talking about this, back to the hurricane.
Yes.
And, just the amazing response from churches to do the work of immediate restoration that had to be done. And it has to be immediate, and it applies. Those are things that have to be immediate. You got to get that drywall out of there. You got to get that carpet out of there. And there is no time for the powers that be, the normal resources, to gather the troops quickly enough to do stuff like that. So the church did it, right?
Right.
And I would say that's what this what I think those organizations could see in us is this is where the help needs to come from. If they only understood better, then that's where the support would come from. Because if the church is not going to try to meet people in their deepest, darkest place with the hope of Christ, then what are we about?
Right.
And so if we can get that out there to churches so that they understand, and to believers that are wanting to either support with opening their church doors to organizations, or financially, or with volunteer hours, that's what they could immediately see. What these organizations, they were like, okay, you guys, we see that you need to understand so that you can help others like you understand. And they came and supported us.
Okay. Well, and again, you're listening to the Good News program. We're broadcasting on 104.5 and 106.1 out of Conroe, Texas. But some of you may be listening online or on our podcast, which may be after our broadcast date. So we're actually broadcasting and recording right now in the middle part of September. And so we just made a reference to a hurricane, and this was Hurricane Harvey that hit originally down south Texas, and then came and set up residence for what seemed like months over Houston. In the areas that we live in, we got somewhere between 35 and 50 inches of rain. And for those who live outside of Houston, that's a typical rain shower for us. But it seemed to linger for days and days and days and days. And so you probably remember some of the images you saw on social media and on the news. And so the responders, both the first responder and the civilians in which this flooding happened, And in many cases, in many areas of Houston and Beaumont and other places in the greater Houston area, it happened so quickly and it was so traumatizing that people lost everything. I mean, they literally lost everything. And what was so heartening, I think, about this, which I think relates to the movie, is that we have the image sometimes, if you're watching, CNN or Fox News or even some of the other channels, and you just see bad all the time. You see riots and people at each other's throats. But for these past week, almost now 3, you really saw the truly good in America. You saw people who didn't care about skin color or religion or immigration status. You saw people who were hurting and people who could help, including the Cajun Navy that came and helped. We had people from Dallas. We had people as far away as Maine and California come and rescue people. But those people are also now going through many of the things that would be characterized as PTSD. And so they, I think, can be helped. And you want to say something but coming out of what you were just saying, we have the Stronger Alliance. Is there anything that you've been requested or out of Stronger Alliance that is resulting in churches wanting to do small groups or recovery groups or small group studies as a result of this? So,
yes, yeah.
So sorry if you can get to what you wanted to talk about.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I just wanted to interject one thing.
Absolutely.
At the end of the movie, we actually show the Stronger Alliance.
Perfect. Okay.
And so we have a scene where Huntsville, Texas, actually opened up the opportunity for us to use their 4th of July event.
Okay.
For and I mean, they had a call to the Patriot Guard of Texas to come in, CMA riders. We had about 350 motorcyclists that did a ride through that Jake captured beautifully on camera. That's at the end of the movie. But all of that took place in Huntsville. And at the storm shelter there, they have a large facility that we were able to do our last scene of the movie.
Oh, perfect.
And we called it, it was like the entrance to the Stronger Alliance. What's the word that was used in it?
I don't know, just sort
it
of.
was the very first Stronger Alliance,
Yeah,
is what we
like
called it. And it was actually true organizations, Crew Military, Mighty Oaks, Armed Forces Mission, Armor of God. You just go, Amos House of Faith, which
Emergency
is Emergency Chaplain Group. So,
and if I remember reading correctly, and correct me if I am not recalling this correctly, but didn't Faith Bible doing an 8-week or 6-week series?
Yes.
And people outside the membership and attender of Faith Bible could attend that?
Yes.
Could
out of our movie last week, we had our hometown premiere, which we had around 750 show up.
Okay.
We have a booklet called The Stronger, We Are Stronger, Going Deeper.
Okay.
And so it starts tonight at 6:30 at Faith Bible Church. And we have about 18 or 20 signed up.
And Faith Bible Church, for those of you who are in the area, and then we'll have to go to break, is located in the Woodlands. It's 5505 Research Forest Drive in the Woodlands. And it starts at 6:30 tonight. And I think you can go to faithbibleonline.org to find out more about that if you're interested.
Can I just say,
absolutely,
it's in room 208, but also the cutoff for childcare has already passed. But yes, please come. Just there won't be childcare available. So
perfect. Yeah. Okay, you're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox, and we'll be back with more just after the break.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3, and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776.
And getting stronger.
And you're back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. You're listening to that song, which is the title song, We Are Stronger. And the artist singer is Shay Doman. It's also written by John Sherrill, who is a pastor down in the Spring area. So Shay, well done. That is an absolutely beautiful song, beautifully produced and sung. Very good job. If you're interested in downloading that song and listening to it more, you can go to strongermovie.com. Under resources, you can look at the music, or you can go directly there from strongermovie.com/music. We're here in studio with Carla and Robin and Jake, the creative team, the producers, writers, filmers, post-editors, distributors, funders of the movie We Are Stronger. And it deals with a subject that affects so many in the military and first responders. And certainly, again, as we were talking just as we were going to the break about Hurricane Harvey, and certainly our prayers are with all of the folks in Florida following Hurricane Irma. And there seems to be a number of those storms that have happened just back to back. And there are probably a lot of folks, first responders, as well as civilians like ourselves, that are going through different variations and severities of PTSD. And so this movie, I think, could be a tremendous help, not only to watch the movie, but coming out of the movie. The producers have also created Stronger Alliance, which is strongeralliance.com. So if you need help, if you're struggling, if you have a family member or even yourself that's struggling, you can go to strongeralliance.com and get connected with a Christian counselor to be able to help you with counseling and other things associated with this, I think appropriately now called an injury, not necessarily a PTSD. Just before we went to the break, and again, you're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. Just before we went to the break, we were talking a little bit about the process of the movie. How do you go from just idea to writing? And Robin, of course, being one of the primary writers of the script. And we'll also kind of turn it to Jake, who was filmer, editor, cinematographer, post-editing. You probably did quite a bit more than I'm just the graphical items. Just to kind of talk a little bit about the process. And after we talk a little bit about the process, hopefully that if that acts as a little bit of a motivator, if you have a book or a movie, and especially something that may be helpful like this, sit down and open up your computer or your iPhone if you're dictating and begin to actually produce it. You never can tell where God will take you in the beginning of that first sentence to final sentence and closed script and acting and so forth. If it's a book, it's a script. And of course, if it's a movie, it has so many other elements, including the beautiful music written by Shay. So tell us a little bit about what it goes into producing a movie, filming a movie. So many of us who are, like we've already said a couple of times, civilians look back at this and marvel at, how do you do that? So
I actually get that a lot. People want to know kind of the process of it and all that. And one, I would say the advice I always give is surround yourself with a good team, because you can't, nobody can do all of it. And so the really neat thing about Reflective Media Productions is God has really just brought the essential people that you need to bring something together, to bring a film together. And so, I mean, we have Robin, who is our amazing writer, and she's just fantastic with one of the things that I love about Robin is her willingness to do it right. So, I mean, if we have to change, I mean, on our second movie, it was literally just entirely rewritten from one character to a different character. So the main character switched in it, and the script had already been written. So she rewrote essentially the whole script. Actually, parts of the film had already been filmed, and so we repurposed.
So how many iterations of the script did you go through before you actually got to final? And during the course of filming, did you change the script kind of on the fly?
It was constantly changing.
Did the actors have a bit of ad lib creative license?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
They sure did.
Okay.
And they were amazing. Yeah. I mean, I maybe this is a good point to put this in there.
Yeah.
Two of the most poignant parts in the film, in We Are Stronger,
yes,
were not written by me at all. And at the end of it, you see, we have the ending, and it's powerful, and
right.
Vic's final speech, we call it.
Okay, so now Vic is played by Ulysses, right? And Ulysses is a wonderful man. He is the owner of Eden Cafe in just north of the Woodlands on 1488. Wonderful, and I think he is from Cuban descent, if I recall correctly. Yes. And so the food is just wonderful there. So if you get to have the chance, you see the movie, go say hello to Ulysses. I'm sure he'd be thrilled at that.
Yes, and he's had some really great interviews himself, but in one of them he just talks about how, acting was a passion that he had not been able to, or he had sort of chosen not to pursue that, but he's very, very good at it. And at one point way back, he had decided to go in the restaurant business, hoping to one day have his own. And he just is amazing at so many things.
Great story.
But he's an excellent actor, and he put his whole heart in this. And not only that, but just as a leader in the cast, with the sort of preparation that he would do, just always absolutely ready and totally memorized. And
also to throw this in, our cast was entirely volunteer. So they were just volunteering their time.
This was a ministry. And Angela Sweet also, just what a gift to have her in this project. She's got an acting background as well, and I always hear Ulysses say that she raised the bar. She's amazing.
Well, that's typical Ulysses.
Oh, I know. That's very true. But I guess what I was trying to take this opportunity is to say that based on his experience, Ulysses' experience at the Mighty Oaks Retreat, he wrote the final speech for Vic completely himself, and which was sort of summing up everything that he had experienced and learned, and giving that inspiring charge to the other people who may be going through this. And he wrote that. There's a point in the movie which God brought about midway through the writing and production of it. Things changed. God moved things. I mean, I would have to say that I probably rewrite more than I write. So when you want to talk to somebody about how does this happen, well, just start. Just start, because it's not how it's going to end. You just start.
We kept it on this one in a Google Doc because it was constantly changing so much that we, in previous projects, we would send files and it would just be horrendous trying to keep track of which script was
version
the most
what
current.
version what.
And so that's what we had to do, is we went to a Google Doc to where, I mean, you can literally see edits happening live. So
yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of changes.
Which is amazing, too, because so many of us live in first draft land, right? I mean, you're texting in first draft and you're emailing in first draft, but this movie, as it took on, it sounds like, I haven't seen it, I'm looking forward to seeing it, took on a depth. Didn't occur in first draft.
Absolutely.
It occurred in Draft Infinity.
Another person who's an excellent actor and also is a member at Faith Bible and has just this great adult community. Yeah, he's Don Ortolano. He is somebody that we went to near the beginning, and I kind of had an idea of a role for him.
Yes.
And I said, but Don, Jake and I would, and Carla, our meeting place and our office was always Whataburger. Okay, so we meet everybody at Whataburger. Okay,
and again, for those of you who aren't in Texas,
you have no idea what you're missing out on.
For those of you in California, In-N-Out ain't got it. It's Whataburger.
Not even close.
People are extremely loyal to Whataburger, and the good thing is there's locations everywhere. So there's a Whataburger near every place we need it to be. And are we the Whataburger at 1488 or the one on 2970? Yeah. So
coffee
we
shakes.
did meet Don at Whataburger. I forgot about that.
Oh yes, lots of Whataburger meetings.
And have you had their coffee shake yet?
No.
Oh, Okay. Anyway.
Ooh, okay. So we were having a Whataburger meeting. It was the one on 45 with Don.
Okay.
And we were saying, Don, God seems to be bringing other people's stories into this, just life stories. Justina Page, amazing, a whole other story. God's bringing people's real stories into this, and we're using them and we're weaving them together. It seems like you may have a story. And he said, well, I do, but it's some things I haven't worked through. So you just write the role, and I'll play it.
Yes, and he can do that.
Okay. I said, okay. But you know what? God had other plans, because I wrote the role, and as it would turn out, that role went away.
Okay.
And long story there. And
real.
We had realized at that point, we really need kind of an alcoholic guy, an addict that keeps falling off the wagon, but he loves Jesus, and he's a truth teller.
Okay.
And we need that guy. And Don said, oh, I could be that guy.
And so if any executives at Whataburger are listening, the next movie upcoming for Reflective Life Ministries could use a sponsor. Kidding, of course. Well, we'll take this last break, and then we'll come back and finish up some thoughts with the We Are Stronger creative team.
This is Rick, TRC. Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 7, I play today's country hits on my show, Afternoons with Lone Star. The type of music that makes you want to get off your seat, stomp your feet, sing along at the top of your lungs, and not care who hears. On Lone Star Community Radio, Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1, and as always on worldwide, irlonestar.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. In studio, I have the creative team, the producer, writer, director, filmer of the movie We Are Stronger. And you just heard the title cut, which is We Are Stronger by Shay Donham. Did I just butcher it? I did it again, didn't I? Doman. Yeah. Shay, if you're listening, sorry. No letters or emails. Sorry, Shay. And so we're talking about the movie. The movie has as the central subject PTSD, and not only the effects of it on military, on soldiers coming back, but also their families and friends. And so we have just a few thoughts remaining, just a few minutes remaining for a few thoughts. And I want to talk a little bit about distribution. We want to talk about Spirit of Texas Bank. Is that right? Okay, so we'll have Carla come in, who is the producer of the movie, We Are Stronger. And again, you can get all of the information on strongermovie.com. And so we'll toss over and have you talk about the distribution and
so just so the listeners understand, this has been birthed out of a ministry, which is, we are a nonprofit organization, a 501c3. So as Jake had said, the actors, actresses are volunteers, and there's been many of us part of that as well. But people are always wondering how we got the funding. And it was 100% through donations.
Okay, all right.
And
through Reflective Life Ministries, which they can find at reflectivelifeministries.org. Okay, perfect.
For that. Or you can go to strongermovie.com
.com
and donate there as well.
And what I'll do too, for everybody listening or on podcast, on the Good News Show Facebook page, I will put all these links up, so you can have the
thank you.
Find the links on Facebook / Good News Program.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just shout out to Spirit of Texas Bank. They have been partnered with us in a big way.
Okay.
And are such supporters, are at every event we're at, and so.
And they've really believed in us.
They
believed
in us, and our hearts beat as one. So it's just been such a privilege to work with them. People are always asking, how can we get this movie to our city?
Yes.
So on our website, strongermovie.com, there's a link that says "Bring We Are Stronger to My City." And so I will say this with excitement, but next week we will be in Colorado Springs, and then we'll also be in the villages right out of Orlando in Florida.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
My grandmother lives in the villages.
Tell her to come.
I will tell her to go. That's
her
amazing.
name doesn't start with Marie, does it?
No, it doesn't. But she knows her best friend's Marie. So.
Okay. Oh.
But now, granted, there's 250,000
Yeah, there are
plus people there.
You got to tell her it's in the villages.
I
They're
will.
already showing the trailer on the movie.
All three of the theaters?
Old Mill,
Old
I believe.
Mill.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And another place who could use
in
a movie like
Virginia,
this.
we're going to be doing.
And to see all these showings, if you just go to the website,
Yeah.
there's a link on the
thank
top
you.
left,
Yeah.
and it says showings. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, and that's where you can find where all these things are being updated. So,
And
that
every
would be
day
a
there's
strong-
another
sorry.
one. Every day there's another one, and we're filling that. We're calling people that are checking with us and
All over the country.
And what's happening is there is usually one person who will become in that area the spearhead, and then they build a team with boots on the ground, and they start reaching out to churches, and it has been an amazing experience. What we're seeing is that our movie, we've said together we are stronger. What we're seeing is these people that are boots on the ground are coming from different churches and organizations that are working together in their community.
Okay.
It really fits beautifully with
And
what we're doing.
That's how the film was made, was a
Yeah.
grassroots movement, really, and that's how it's getting out to people, is having just average people in cities who really believe in the film and want to bring it there, partnering with churches or nonprofits or theaters, and just getting on the ball and getting it to the city. So
Perfect. So if you're interested, if you're a church listening around the country or even internationally, you go to strongermovie.com. In the upper left-hand part of the menu, it's showings and it's bring it to your city. So strongermovie.com. And again, that'll be up on our Facebook page later this afternoon. And so how long do you anticipate the showings out in theaters and in movies before it perhaps is time that an individual could pull the digital version or DVD, or
it'll be a while.
Okay.
We're not 100% sure because this is kind of an unorthodox way of doing things. But what's been really neat is having it in these cities. They really become events for the nonprofits and the churches and all that to not only invite the surrounding community, but also as a way of supporting that organization. And so it's really kind of a unique situation to be in. So. Yeah, I mean, we're hoping probably next summer or fall to have it available on streaming and to be able to physically purchase it. But
okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
And
between
one other-
now and next fall,
One other thing.
bring it to your city.
Yes, bring it to your city. Please. We will have fun.
Strongermovie.com.
But one thing I do need to do another shout out here. We're real excited that the movie has actually been nominated for 6 awards. And we will find out. It's at the Christian Media
Association.
Christian Media. I think it's called
It's
it
CMA.
Content 17
Got it.
conference. I'm sorry.
Now, is this something that the members of the conference vote on, or is there anything that the public can do to go help vote?
Oh, I wish there could be.
Okay.
That would be awesome. But this is it's actually a conference, just international conference. So people will be coming. So whoever shows up at the event is
And
going
they
to be
have
part
panels
of it.
and all
yeah,
that kind
they
of
have
stuff
all
to judge
kinds of
that
stuff.
stuff,
But so yeah, we're real excited about that.
Okay. Well, I know we've talked a little bit about maybe one of the stories associated with the movie. So is there one of the other movies or another story that we want to share? And then at the last minute, we'll make sure we know where to go find it.
Oh,
So-
there's so many stories.
Yeah. For just a
I'll
minute
tell
or
you
two.
this one.
And then we want to remind people where it's showing tonight and over the weekend, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Just so that people know as well, we've got burn survivors that are in the movie.
Okay.
Justina Page, an amazing woman, African-American woman that lost a child in the fire. And her story is, Robin's done a beautiful job of interjecting her story throughout. But I would like to share the story about Angela, our lead actress. So I had met her. I speak at retreats and women's retreats
Yes.
and conferences.
ReflectiveMinistries.org.
Right. Reflective Life Ministries.
If
And I
they
was
want to book you.
speaking in the Woodlands at Crossroads Church.
Okay.
And this beautiful woman came to me and just wanted to have lunch. And I have that happen quite a bit, but for some reason I felt like, okay, I really feel like I'm supposed to do that. So we met about a week later, and she just passing, just sharing her story, had shared that she was an actress in L.A. about 10 years before. And so that I kind of banked that in the back of my mind, held it back there. And through when we started talking about this movie and the lead actress, she was the only one that came to my mind. And they know this because I pulled out my Facebook page of her and I showed a picture of him to her, and I think that she's the one. I think she's the one. And so, but then the thought hit, she's like 45 minutes away. She lived far away for a volunteer to act as many roles as she was going to, many scenes that she was going to be in. Well, all of a sudden, that was in the summer. And fast forward to November, and I see, this was November in 2014, I believe, I see that she has moved to Wood Forest.
Which is really close.
Which is
really close.
And it is like a fourth to a half of a mile from where our main, the house was we were using.
Yeah, it was
for
like 5 minutes from our
It was
main
like,
set.
5 minutes. And so I was like, okay, I think. So in January, I go and I talk to her through Facebook and just say, hey, would you be interested? And she goes, well, maybe. And then she gets back to, she read the script and she was like, I just don't feel like I'm called for this. And so I was like, okay, well, she was in a bad place in her life at that moment, at that time. And then about 2 months later, people kept coming to us with different, like reading the scripts and sending us videos, and I'd look at it.
Yeah,
and
we
I'd go,
did several auditions.
I was
for the
like,
part.
that's not her. That's not her. And I kept thinking about her. Well, one day I had her phone. I had my phone in my hand. And I thought, how's she going to know that this script has metamorphosized into what it is today if I don't call her? Because I'm the only one that knows her. So I had the phone out to punch the button, and as literally as audible as I felt like the Lord put on my heart, do not call her. Pray for me to stir her heart. And I threw my phone down because I was so afraid I was going to touch her, dial button. And, I was going to touch the dial button. And so I just started praying, prayed. Well, 9:51 that night, I get a phone call. I get a Facebook message. Would you like to have lunch? And it was from her. I hadn't heard from her in 2 months.
Yeah, you haven't talked in months.
2 months. Well, long story short, I eat lunch with her, and she tells me her story that she was at Eden Cafe at 12 o'clock noon that day that I had my phone in my hand. And she said Ulysses came to her and said, hey, aren't you Angela? Weren't you the one that was possibly going to play the role? You need to rethink this. And she said she went home, and this is the words she used. God stirred my heart all afternoon.
That's crazy.
Well, thank you very much. Well, we've had in studio Carla and Robin and Jake. They are the creative team, the producers and filmers and writers behind the movie We Are Stronger. It is showing in just a few minutes in Huntsville, and you can join us next Thursday at 1 for the Good News Show, in which we'll have some photojournalists. It'll tell a bunch of stories around Hurricane Harvey. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.